Hey everyone, Larry Bailey here, Mortgage Workflow Partners. We're going to go through the Encompass web version preview of the release notes for 24.3. Keep in mind that Encompass Web currently still only updates its majors on the actual major release, which in this case is slated for December 7th. In the future, ICE does plan on giving us the ability to see Encompass Web in a testing environment. Not there yet. This is going to be a run through of any new tools or new forms as well as feature updates. Let's go ahead and get into that summary right here. First of all, we've got as far as new forms and features in 24.3 that we've not seen before. We've got a new lock comparison tool. We'll talk about that. And then we've got a whole slew of updates and enhancements for Encompass 24.3 for web. Again, these are the pre-release notes. So if you're listening to this and there's something a little bit different, we're going to do our best when it gets closer to release to go through any changes in the pre-release notes versus the release notes. Let's get into it. The new lock comparison, when we look at this is on page 15. When we look at this here, what we're going to focus in on is the ability to display the changes that were made after the loan is locked. Now, I am a huge proponent of lock comparison forms inside of Encompass Desktop. There's three departments actually I build comparison forms for typically, habitually, almost always. And number one is secondary, number two is closing, and number three is underwriting. So the fact that we're getting one in here in web for lock comparison is totally great. I actually expect that we'll see, some companies will want more fields and those kinds of things. Also, special call out here. Currently, the validate pricing only works for ICE PPE. All of the providers are required in the APIs before pricing can be validated. So basically, what you're trying to do is, does the current pricing still work for the tool? It's kind of a reverse logic to historical comparison in my mind. But there's a validate pricing button on the lock comparison tool. Click it, validates pricing, and then you can move on. I handle lock comparisons in a little bit different way. If you're interested in learning how I do that and how I help other companies do that, let me know. So we're going to go down and get through all of these notes firsthand. Let's dig into it. By the way, of course, the whole point of me doing these walkthrough videos with these release notes is you can read on your own. Like, I'm not here to read you like a bedtime story. I'm just here to provide some extra guidance as far as what we see. I've actually been working on Encompass Web for a few years now and implementing clients onto web now for going into my second full year. And so when I look at everything that's in here, it's like kid in a candy store. Like, I'm finally starting to see the value that we've been looking for to help companies move more and more of their workflow operations into leveraging Encompass Web. So let's continue to look at this. We've got new option to view current loan level archival status and pipeline reports and dashboards. This is the same field that we saw in desktop. So again, this whole idea of can you do it in desktop? Hey, can you do it in web? Is one mutually exclusive than the other? Usually not. So here's a good example of where it's simultaneously the same in both, and you can leverage it however you want. Because if you build this into your pipeline on desktop, you want it into your pipeline on web, obviously. And it goes through, if you haven't heard, by the way, if you haven't heard that walkthrough for 24.3 desktop, check out that recording and you'll get this detailed dive for in here. Okay, Encompass user experience. We now show all field IDs option added to loan. I wish I had 25,000 thumbs up. So once the show all field ID option is selected, the field ID for the fields listed in the parentheses next to the field name. To show the field IDs, open a loan file and select the ellipse actually menu and then select show all field IDs. So what does that look like? You've got this drop down here, and this drop down, if you've heard me teach you on Encompass Web or you've seen me do demos, this ellipse right here is going to go through where you can see all packages and you can do all kinds of things. Show all field IDs is there. So what ends up happening now is you can see these field IDs. I know you're going to ask next, where's my Control G? I know you're going to do that. The reality is up here, this search ID is field IDs. That's your Control G. If you show all fields and you're looking for field 4000, you don't know where that is or what that is, you can see on that particular input form. It'll list all the field input forms, rather all the input forms that have that field on it. And if you show all fields, you'll see it. It's kind of cool. And then you can hide it, of course, if you don't want to see it. I suspect everybody will turn that on because they're so used to seeing field IDs for some crazy reason. But honestly, it's better UI without it, but that's up to you. All right, we've got Encompass Forms and Tools. We've got new fields in Encompass. Again, we saw this on desktop review. We've got a ton of new fields for automating the analyzer income option. So that's all in here. If you're interested in that, that's page 23. We've also got new fields added to store data. That's for 24. And then correspondent updates in there. We're down into page 25. We've got new expiration date fields for mortgage analyzers. Again, same thing we went and saw in desktop. So if you've already heard me talk about this in desktop reviews, I'm not going to bore you with that. If you're interested in those, check those out on page 26 into 27. All right, so we've got a new exclude unmarried addendum. This is that checkbox that we saw on the input form in desktop. So here it is in web. We've also got a new field added for credit report first issued date in there. And we've got a new field added to indicate if the property was converted to real property. So again, if you heard me walk through the desktop changes, I'm flying through this because I've already talked about this. You can read through these. These are updates to Encompass Web to reflect the same updates that we see in desktop. Not too many people are using web exclusively, which is why I'm not like pausing and going through these things in detail, because I don't want to waste your time. I want to show you what's unique to web and what's been updated in web. That's the whole point of doing this, so you can get an ear and an eye on what you need to pay attention to. So we've got the new field added to capture the maximum qualifying payment. I'm going to talk about something real quick here. One of the things that we kind of just naturally do in desktop is we customize these input forms, and we use these custom summary forms. They're all over the place. I see them every day. Out of the 30 companies that we support every week, I see this every single day in their workflow as we're going through and updating their workflows, and I'm watching what people are doing. This results in just a tremendous amount of maintenance. And every time one of these things gets new, your development team, if you're a developer, it's you, or your admin, it's you. But all these people have to go through and now figure out, where did I put that field? Do I have that field? Where does it go? Oh my gosh, there's no room for that field now. Where are we going to do? These are all real conversations. I'm not making this up. And so one of the things that is wonderful about web is card-based view. If you haven't heard me talk about card-based view before, go check out my videos and my recordings on card-based views. It's honestly the way to do it. It's the way I'm moving companies over in their sales teams, post-closing teams, secondary teams. Now with a lot of these updates in Encompass Web, processing and underwriting teams as well. Phenomenal stuff. People are loving it. They're loving the speed. They're loving the workflow changes and the reimagination of the workflow. Let me know what I can do for you. This is what I do all day long. Myself and my team members, we get in there and we're experts in making sure that you understand how your workflow is being run. So we review your workflow, we document it, we help you reimagine what it can be, especially using Encompass Web. This is what we are experts at. And so that's why I do these walkthroughs, is to make sure that you hear about what's changing and you get the perspective that goes beyond just the typed word. All right, we got a new field to capture the maximum qualifying payment. So again, if you're using your VOAL, verification of additional loans, this is if there's a second mortgage closing simultaneously, whether that second's from you or another party, or there's a third from another party. Those are things that you need to pay attention to. And so there's an update for that field to capture for qualifying. New flood insurance agent fields added to South Carolina specific. Again, state-specific disclosure information input form. That's where you're going to see it. New field specific to Minnesota. We saw this again on desktop, where for Minnesota, this is the new field. That's the citation from Minnesota state law. All kinds of things to worry about here. New Freddie condominium project identifier field. Again, FRE stands for Freddie. FNMA is Fannie. So you've got that down there at the bottom. New fields added for lock requests. This is all about the float updated on. So if you heard me talk about this in desktop, you'll understand that this is a problem when some product and pricing engines are asked to float a loan. Sometimes the information doesn't get into Encompass properly. And so the float updated on field allows you to track that as an administrator to make sure your workflow is happening properly. We've got updates for the ULDD and the PDD input forms, both the Fannie tab and the Freddie tab. So check those out. That's on page 31. And this really shows the drop downs for the mortgage insurance source on the Freddie Mac tab. And then you've got a buy down enumeration was added in the drop down for other funds collected at closing 4. and that's, again, ULDD stuff. A validate export button is removed from the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and Ginnie Mae tabs. It was outdated, and it needed to be removed. You got some GSE integrations updated with Encompass Web. You've got UCD automation. I'm going to say that again. UCD automation. Lenders can now automate service orderings and workflow rules to send UCD information automatically to Freddie Mac's loan closing advisor or Fannie Mae's UCD collection solution. So the idea here is that there's a lot of confusion on web settings and workflow engine. A lot of people think you have to use Encompass Web to leverage this automation. It's just not true. So you can go into web settings, whether going to encompass.ice.com or you can go into Encompass Desktop, go into settings and go into web settings from there. I prefer to going encompass.ice.com because it gives me the waffle up in the upper right and I can manage a lot of different things at once. And it's limited if you just do it through Encompass Desktop. Anyway, UCD automation is there now with 24.3. Check it out. You've also got, for the GSE integrations, you've also got a VA loan review tool with Encompass Web to manage. You've got rep and warrant tracking tool updates that now includes additional updates for Freddie Mac LPA to pay attention to, as well as Freddie Mac UCD collection solution, as well as Fannie Mae DU and DO. So the DU recommendation field has been renamed to DU-DO recommendation as the tool now captures the recommendation returned from DO, gang. Encompass Web, DO. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So this whole thing now supports Fannie Mae, whether you're using DO or DU, because there are some lenders that are using DO. And so Fannie Mae Rep and Warrant Tracker now, logic now applies to both DU and DO orders, and the existing Fannie Mae fields are now populated with the return values from DO. This is a really big deal. Historically speaking, forever, you were not able to use the AUS tracking tool for DO. It's now in there. It's a big deal. Fannie Mae DU supports mission score and partial rep and warrants also. That's an update. Continue along this GSE updates. We've got Freddie Mac LPA 5.4 spec updates. So if you're looking for those 5.4 spec updates, here they are. That's on page 34. And we see some windows and drop downs and a new closing agent for the Freddie enumeration has been added in the source fields down there. So check it out. If you're into Freddie Mac, again, where are we in the Encompass land right now? These are all LPA, so Loan Product Analyzer 5.4 specs. These are all updated now in Encompass Web for you to use. You've also got Fannie Mae DU 1.9 spec updates, so that's cool. All right, more GSE updates here. An update for inspection ID field label on Freddie Mac additional data input form. So the following labels were updated to more closely align with the field labels expected in the IDs. Specifically, the CASA-SRN.X220 is now updated to property data identifier. This is just important if you're working, if you're trying to get insights as far as what's going on and there's an error, you need to make sure that the labels match more closely to what you're looking for, that kind of a thing. All right, continue on with GSE updates to the GSE additional provider data input form. So if you're on the GSE additional, you've got a new account check section. Again, we talked about this in desktop. And then we also talked about how these fields were removed. A lot of fields removed and renamed. A lot of renaming. You've got new home counseling fields added to the ULDD input form. So that's in there also. You'll see those new fields. So if you're the kind of folks that like to automate this or require this, you've got new fields to manage there. That's the end of the GSE updates. We're going to get into Encompass compliance service updates here. We've got the clear alert button added to the compliance review tool. So if you're allowed to clear the alert, you can. I personally don't like the clear alert, but there are some unique use cases. Make sure you assign it to the persona that it belongs to. You'll find that in your compliance review setup in there as far as who can clear the alert. By the user, not by the persona, but by the user. Okay, and there's the clear alert. It shows you on the screen. Compliance fee details mismatch fields are now highlighted instead of coloring. So if there is a fees mismatch, it'll be, now highlighted in fee details. So this shows if there's a problem with a fee, and then you click on fee details, and there's messaging updates, and now you can see where mismatch fees are showing as follows. There's problem fees, if there's fees that don't have problems. So that's nice. So it gives you like sorts it out if there's a problem with fees. That way you don't have to kind of look, stare, and compare. It's really nice. I like that. Updates to the compliance review tab in the ECS data viewer. So we had some in this release. It's been updated to enhance the clarity and accuracy of the report. I love these fields. Right in here, I've used these fields in other disclosure automation processes to make sure that everybody understands the status of these compliance reviews. That's on the compliance review result input form. Really great resource to use in your workflow. Okay, so that's the end of the ECS part. We've got some additional updates to forms, tools, and calculations. Let's get into those. First thing, we've got a new appraisal management tool. So this has been added to enable users to compare appraisals ordered from supporting partners. When an order is fulfilled, the PDF is available. The loan file users can also download the XML file to deliver the report. So gang, you can get a hold of your XMLs, as well as uploading to UCDP. Appraisal management tool can also be used to task workspace. So this is calling out for task-based workflows. It enables users to order an appraisal directly from a workflow task. Oof, that's awesome. Appraisal data is presented to the users, and the tool is displayed when the partner is updated to write a set of appraisal collection fields. So this is going to depend on your partner and how their integration is going with their EPC, not the legacy standard fields. When a partner has not updated the new collection fields, the data points may present as blank, but the PDF of the appraisal and the XML might be present. That's friggin' cool. That's cool. Another cool one is request for transcript of tax now available to add in the left nav. So when creating a custom loan left nav, you now have the request. So this is, if you've not done any development or settings updates in Encompass Web, you probably have no idea what this is talking about, but you can customize the loan left nav by channel, and you now have a new input form that you can add over in there. There's a new option to add a plan code and to delete a loan program plan code alt lender. So this is on the closing Reg Z, on the Reg Z input form. You now have more options to behave more like desktop. Thank you. There's a new column sort and search options for schedulers. Awesome. This is awesome. So hopefully you've started to use schedulers. Hopefully you've been paying attention to what I've been teaching and you've been testing these things out. By the way, if you don't really know that much about Encompass Web and you want to pay $500 and learn how to master Encompass specifically for Web Essentials, sign up for the course. It's $500, lifetime access. And then we do live meetings every other week. And we talk about things. We do homework assignments, make sure you're updated, make sure you're pushed and coached, those kinds of things. So there's a new column for that. Take advantage of it. In addition, search functionality, so now you can do these. The reason why they're doing this is because everybody went, holy crap, that's awesome. Let me go create a whole bunch. And so now you need a way to search for those whole bunch. So that's the way you do it. We've got an update to interest rate on FHA. So the same thing with desktop. It now supports 3 decimal points, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you're doing it yourself. Display index to 5 decimals. Okay. For ARM index, you now have for precision, you now can do up to 5. So there's your drop down. You've got an update to the prepayment penalty calculation logic. Okay, so this is, again, if you're doing business purpose loans, that's supported in web. Update to refinance cash out for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We just talked about this in the fixed issues with desktop. That's interesting. Select from a predefined field for populate. Oh, so 704 now in the itemization now lets you select from predefined field descriptions. That's for the commissions and other stuff for brokers. So now you can use 704 to drop down and fill in what you want to from your itemization fee management. That's what that's talking about. So that's pretty cool. New option to select, to manually select AMI dataset, just like desktop. It's probably going to do MFI next. Yep. New option to select MFI dataset years, just like desktop. New declaration explanation option now available for co-borrowers. So that's interesting. So you now have in web a new explanation button now provided. So when they click yes, you now have an explanation button as shown here. So that's pretty cool. And then they can type in. Pretty cool. All right, so that's it for that part. Let's get into some updates for EDM. It now supports partner delivery documents. Guys, this is another huge deal. This is ICE fulfilling its promise to making sure it's an open and fair platform. When I was at the Partner Advisory Board up at the New York Stock Exchange earlier this year, The executive team made it very clear that if ICE really is going to talk the talk, it needs to walk the walk on openness. So this is that walking. This is them actually putting it out there that if you're using another provider that will deliver documents, go ahead and have open access to making sure that the disclosure tracking tool is being used properly. I just had my mind blown. A company is using Flowify. I'm going to call them out because it's a big deal. So a company is using Flowify, and in their instance, whatever version of Flowify they're using, when they go through Flowify, it's not doing justice to disclosure tracking tool. As a matter of fact, it's creating a huge potential compliance problem for them because every disclosure sent through Flowify is showing it was sent via US mail in the disclosure tracking tool. And I'm just like no. And the reason why I know about this is because we're implementing them on the TPO Connect and we're going through all the final testing. They're about ready to go live. It's only taken us about 45 days, coming up on 60 days to get them to go from nothing to live, which is super awesome, especially because of situations that we run into in conflicts with their retail ops, just like this. Retail's using Flowify, and I got into disclosure tracking situations, and I just can't. So please make sure that if you're using a third party to deliver your documents, that it's operating in disclosure tracking properly, for e-consent properly, ITP properly. I'm not here to give you compliance advice. I'm just here to tell you that there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And ICE is now opening up so everybody can do it the right way without any restrictions or programming complexities, things like that. That's on page 54. Check it out. Page 57, update for sending closing documents to third parties, new options added to document to eFolder and choosing documents from stacking template. Same as desktop, we see those updates. Here's some updates to the eFolder gang. If you're using Encompass Web for eFolder, check it out. Select files across multiple folders. So now you can select multiple files by using the Shift button, okay? So you can also use Control if you're using a Mac. When was the last time you saw Mac in release notes for Encompass? That would be never. So now you can use Command plus Select on a Mac computer. I don't know why that makes me so giddy, but that makes me giddy. You can use a higher quality machine, aka Mac machine, to run your Encompass platform. Who would have thunk it? Matter of fact, you can use any OS-based machine, really. It's not just iOS or Windows. You can use anything that opens up the internet. How do you like that? Next one, select the document folders and attachments now added to document package after closing request and send buttons. So that's got an update. You can also get an update for viewing individual file attachments. So there's an update for that. You can also have an update for sending multiple files to document training at once. So if you're using document training, which I need to go investigate that. I've kind of not been paying attention to it because historically it's not really done much. But I've been hearing more companies actually having some success and some consistent success with document training. And what that means is you train the document to receive the image file based upon auto assign. So if you train your Encompass to understand what that image looks like and where it's supposed to go, you can use auto assign and it'll take your PDF and not only look at the QR codes, but also look at the image and try to do its job for you. We've also got some enhancements to sort and search options for conditions. So now when viewing the conditions, user can now sort the condition based upon a filter status in the right slide out panel or a fly out, whatever you want to call it. This new filter displays the statuses of all. So here you can hit the slide out now and you can look for added fulfilled over there. That's going to be cool. I can't wait to get that. If you're not using enhanced conditions, and you need help, reach out. I'll guide you through. Mortgage Workflow Partners will guide you through. We've got a step-by-step plan to help you get onto enhanced conditions. Why is that important? Because number one, it allows you to use better workflows. It allows you to use automation to make sure conditions are in the file when they're supposed to be and waived if they need to be waived or cleared if you receive data to clear them. It just makes the entire workflow more efficient. Everybody's been talking about AI now for the last, I don't know, the last 5 years or whatever. You don't need AI, guys, in underwriting. You actually just need enhanced conditions, and you can automate your enhanced conditions from the beginning to the end. So there. Okay. There's your search panel. That's how that works. You can add multiple document folders at once. So now you can select more than one in Encompass Web and add it into the eFolder. You can create and add new folders to document folders when moving a file. So there's some functionality in there. There's a lot to test out in here, gang. It's a lot to test out. You can pin document folders for easy access. That's okay. That's pretty web-based cool. To pin a folder, select a menu and then select pin folder. Um, yeah, when a folder is pinned, it's moved to the top of the document folders panel in the pin folder selection where it can be easily found, accessed without having to search through the entire list of document folders. Okay. You've got move to folder list now mirrors the document stacking order, so that's pretty cool. We've got number of document folders, attachments, and conditions now displayed on history screen. That's pretty cool. We've got select multiple document folders when searching for folders, so you can do that too. It's a lot of UI updates, gang. Again, if you're not using Encompass Web, I get it, but you got to start checking it out. And anything we can do to help you do that, please let us know. New ability to resize column width on eFolder history screen. Columns removed from document folder section. So these columns are no longer necessary in Encompass Web especially. And document folders, filters now display on slide out panel. So you can now do a whole slide out panel here. Check this out. You can now do a whole slide out panel. And in the eFolder side-by-side view, the document folders filters now displayed on the slide out panel. Now they can search in each column for specific data. Can't do that in desktop. To carry on here, filters persist when switching eFolder views. So now if you set up a filter, it doesn't bonk your folder view. Thank you very much. That's completely annoying when that happens. So thank you for doing that. Encompass eClose, new option to merge documents into a single PDF when adding documents to eFolders. So now you can merge things when you're adding in there. This is on the bottom of page 69. Going into page 70 now. An update for password protected files. So when users attempted to add an encrypted or password protected file, a PDF, an error message would be triggered that they're not supported. So that's where it's letting you know if it can't actually happen. It's not like it's going to do it, but it just can't actually happen because it's password protected. So that little message there is helpful. Constructive notice is what we like to call that. To continue here, Encompass business rule updates for the eFolder buttons. So administrators can now set up persona access to fields and persona access to loans actions in the desktop version of Encompass to manage access and permissions to e-disclosures and audit buttons in the eFolder using the field IDs below. So we got new field IDs, gang. Wait, we don't have new field IDs. Wait, what? Encompass business rule updates. Wait, what does it say? Using the field IDs, administrators can select. Oh, I get it. Okay. So basically, you can now treat these in persona access to field and persona access to loan actions instead of field data entry. Oh my gosh. I don't know why that wasn't in desktop. I don't know why that's sitting here in web, unless I completely missed that in desktop, which is entirely possible. This is really big. So we're no longer going to have to write all of our eFolder, e-disclosure rather, closing button and audit button. We're no longer going to have to put them in field data entry. They're now going to actually work in persona access to fields and persona access to loan action business rules. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. I'm going to absorb that now, and then we'll go into the Encompass settings.